Imagine being the most powerful man in the city. $4 billion. 3 continents that whisper your name like a prayer or a curse. A house on the cliffs above the sea full of men who would kill for you, and not one of them you can turn your back on. And then imagine someone tries to put a bullet in your head. Again, and again, and again. So you hire a protector. No one believes in a woman. Your entire empire laughs at the moment she walks through the door. They give her 9 days to live. They bet money on it. What none of them know, what he doesn't know, is that she didn't come to protect him. She came to bury someone. And the trail of the man who destroyed her ends inside his house. Tonight's story is about the night they stopped laughing. About a woman who took a bullet for the one man she was supposed to hate. A billionaire who learned what fear feels like for the first time in 41 years, and a betrayal hiding in plain sight, close enough to pour his coffee every single morning. Before we begin, if you love dark, dangerous, slow-burning mafia romance, the kind that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go, do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a single story like this one. Now turn off the lights, put your headphones in, and let me tell you about the woman they laughed at, and the bullet that changed everything. Cold opened the sapphire. The chandelier exploded first. 1,000 pieces of cut glass came down over the casino floor like a frozen rain, and in the half-second before anyone understood what was happening, Mara Vance was already moving. She did not draw her weapon. There wasn't time, and time was the only currency she had ever truly respected. She moved her body instead, 3 quick strides across marble slick with spilled champagne, and put herself between Dario Castellane and the muzzle flash blooming from the mezzanine above. The man behind her was worth $4 billion, and feared on 3 continents. He had killed men with a phone call and ended bloodlines with a nod. He was by every account the world had ever written of him, the last person on earth who needed protecting. And Mara Vance threw herself in front of him like he was the only thing in the room that mattered. The first round caught the edge of her shoulder and spun her like a door on a hinge. She felt the heat of it before the pain, the way she always had the body lying to itself in the last clean second before it admitted the truth. She got her hand into Dario's lapel and dragged him down behind the cashier's marble bulwark, 300 pounds of muscle and tailoring folding, because she made it fold. And she pressed him to the floor with her forearm across his chest, and her own blood already painting his white collar red. Above them, gold chips spilled across the floor in a long, ringing river. Dario Castellane looked up at the woman bleeding on top of him. The woman his entire organization had laughed at. The woman his own men had bet money would not last a week. And for the first time in 41 years, the most dangerous man in Monaco felt the strange, unbearable weight of being kept alive by someone else's body. "Stay down," she told him. Calm, almost bored, as if she were correcting a child. He did not stay down. Men like him never did. But that is the end of one story, and we are at the beginning of another. To understand why a woman who hated everything he was would spend her own blood to keep his heart beating, we have to go back 3 weeks. To the night she walked into the lion's house and let them laugh. Chapter 1. The woman they laughed at. Villa Castellane sat on the cliffs above Monte Carlo, like a blade laid flat against the sky, all pale stone and black glass its windows, looking out over a Mediterranean that burned silver under the moon. From its terraces you could see the harbor, the yachts lined up like sleeping animals, the lights of the casino district pulsing faint and gold against the dark water. It was the kind of beauty that cost lives to maintain. Everyone who lived inside it knew that, and pretended not to. Mara Vance arrived at the gate in a black car she had not paid for, wearing a charcoal suit that fit her the way armor fits a soldier, close, deliberate, built for one purpose. She carried no luggage that mattered, and no expression at all. The men at the gate scanned her, found the things she allowed them to find, and waved her through with the particular contempt of men who had already decided what she was. She let them. She had spent her whole life letting men decide what she was. It made the moment they learned the truth so much sweeter. Inside the foyer rose 3 stories into shadow, and a staircase of black marble curved up toward the man she had crossed an ocean to find. They had gathered to watch her. That was the first thing she understood. Word had traveled ahead of her that Castellane, paranoid after the 3rd attempt on his life in 2 months, had brought in an outside specialist, a private protector, unconnected to any of the families, someone with no loyalties to buy and no enemies inside the house. And word had also traveled that the specialist was a woman. So they came, a dozen of them leaning on banisters and lounging in doorways, soldiers and capos and the soft, cruel sons of soft, cruel men, all of them there for the entertainment of watching the boss humiliate the woman who thought she could do their job. "This is her," one of them said, not bothering to lower his voice. He was young, gold-watched, his shirt open one button too far. "I've seen bigger problems on a wine list." The laughter moved through the room like a current. Mara stood in the center of it and let it wash over her, her hands loose at her sides, her gaze steady on the staircase. She had been laughed at by harder men in worse rooms. Laughter had never once stopped a bullet. And then he came down the stairs and the room stopped laughing on its own. Dario Castellane did not look like the photographs. The photographs caught the surface, the dark hair shot through with the first threads of grey, the jaw, the suits that cost more than houses. What they could not catch was the stillness. He moved the way deep water moves, without hurry, without waste, every motion containing the promise of every motion it had decided not to make. He had the eyes of a man who had stopped being afraid of anything a very long time ago, and had found to his quiet disappointment that the world had nothing left to offer a man who could not be afraid. He stopped 4 steps from the bottom, which put his eyes exactly level with hers, and he studied her the way a buyer studies a horse he has already decided not to purchase. "Vance," he said. His voice was low and unhurried, and carried to every corner of the room without being raised. "They tell me you've kept 3 principals alive in active war zones. They tell me you've never lost a client." "They tell you correctly," Mara said. "They also tell me," he continued, "that the last one fired you for insubordination. He's alive to complain about it," she said. That was the job. Something flickered behind his eyes. Not amusement he was, past amusement, but the ghost of where amusement used to live. Around the room the young men shifted. They had expected her to flinch. She had not flinched. That, more than anything, was the thing they would not forgive her for. "My men," Dario said, "do not believe a woman can protect me." He said it without cruelty, which was somehow worse than cruelty. He said it like a weather report. "Some of them have made wagers. The most generous gives you 9 days. "And what do you believe?" she asked. He came down the last 4 steps. Up close he was taller than the room had let her see, and he smelled of cedar and something colder underneath it. Gun oil, maybe, or just the memory of it. He stopped close enough that she could see the small scar that bisected his left eyebrow, close enough that a lesser woman would have stepped back. Mara did not step back. She had not stepped back from anything in 9 years, and she was not going to start in the house of the man she had come to destroy. "I believe," Dario said softly, "that everyone in my life either wants something from me or is afraid of me. You don't seem to be afraid." His eyes moved across her face, reading her the way she was reading him. 2 predators, measuring a third thing in the air between them, that neither of them had a name for yet. "Which means you want something. I'll find out what. I always do." "Good," she thought. "Look closer. You'll never guess what's standing in your own house." "You're paying me to keep you breathing," she said aloud. "You're not paying me to be liked." "No," he agreed. He turned, already done with her, already moving back into the gravity of his own power. "Renzo will handle your placement. He handles everything that matters." And that was the first time she heard the name. A man detached himself from the shadow of the upper landing and came down without a sound. Where Dario was stillness, this one was warmth, broad-shouldered, easy, smiling, the kind of man who remembered your mother's birthday and the way you took your coffee. He wore his loyalty like a comfortable coat. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, he offered Mara his hand, and his grip was firm and dry and honest, and his eyes were kind. "Renzo Vale," he said. "Don't mind them." He tilted his head at the smirking young men. "They laughed at me too 15 years ago. Now they take their orders from me." He smiled, and it reached his eyes, and it was the warmest thing in that cold, beautiful house. "Welcome to the family, Miss Vance. Let's keep him alive together." She shook his hand. She felt nothing. No alarm, no instinct, none of the small animal warning that had kept her alive across a decade of wars. That was the thing she would hate herself for later. That when she finally stood face to face with the man who had murdered everyone she loved, her body told her she had found a friend. Her room was on the 2nd floor between the boss's wing and the stairs, positioned so that nothing could reach him without passing her first. It was a soldier's placement, and she approved of it, and she catalogued it the way she catalogued everything: exits, sightlines, the weight of the door, the half-second of give in the window latch. She did not unpack the second bag. The second bag held the things that were the real reason she had come. The photographs, the redacted files she had spent 4 years, and most of her savings assembling the single grainy image of a man's shoulder and the edge of a tattoo. That was the only physical evidence of the person who had, sold her unit to its death. 9 years ago, in a valley with no name on any map, her government would admit to owning 11 people had trusted Mara Vance to lead them out, and 10 of them had died because someone had sold their position to the men in the hills. She had carried the 11th on her back for 19 kilometers, and he had died anyway in a field hospital, holding her hand and asking her not to leave. She had not left. She had stayed until his hand went cold, and then she had started walking, and in a sense she had never stopped. The money trail of that betrayal, the wire transfer that had bought their deaths, had taken her 4 years to trace. It had moved through 6 shell companies and 3 flags of convenience, and finally it had surfaced inside a private holding firm in Liechtenstein, a firm owned by the Castellane organization. She had come to Monaco believing Dario Castellane had given the order. She had come to get close enough to be certain and then to make him answer for it, and she had been fully prepared to die doing it. She stood at the window now and looked at the silver sea and felt nothing about her own life one way or the other. That was the armor. The armor had kept her alive. The armor was also, though she would not have admitted it to a living soul, the loneliest thing a human being could build, because the same wall that keeps the world out keeps you in. Somewhere below her, in the great cold house, the most powerful man in the city was sitting alone in the dark, and so was she. And neither of them knew yet that the only person who would ever be allowed past the wall was standing 1 floor away. Chapter 2. The night they stopped laughing. For 9 days they tested her. It was not subtle. Dario's men were many things, but subtle was not among them. On the 2nd day, the gold-watched young one, his name was Tonio, and he was somebody's nephew, which was the only reason he still drew breath, arranged for a training exercise that was really an ambush. 4 of them coming at her in the gym with padded sticks and real intent. She put 3 of them on the floor in under 20 seconds and left Tonio his dignity by simply walking away, which humiliated him far more than a beating would have. On the 5th day, they left a loaded pistol in her room with the safety off, hoping she would either miss it or mishandle it. She found it in 4 seconds, cleared it, set it on the dresser, and at dinner slid it across the table to Renzo without a word. Renzo had laughed a real laugh, delighted, and the table had gone quiet because Renzo's approval was the closest thing in that house to law. Through all of it, Dario watched. He watched the way a man watches weather he doesn't trust, waiting for the storm he is sure is coming. He had built his entire life on a single principle, learned young and learned hard, that the only person you could rely on to keep you alive was yourself. His father had taught him that with a belt and then with a war, and his father had been right, and being right had made his father into a man no one mourned. Dario had inherited the empire and the loneliness in the same breath, and had never once thought to question whether they had to come together. So he watched Mara Vance move through his house, silent, exact, refusing to be charmed or frightened or bought, and he told himself he was watching for the moment she would reveal herself as a threat. He did not let himself notice that he had started arriving early to the rooms he knew she would be in. On the 9th day, the laughing stopped for good. The casino was called the Sapphire, and Dario owned the building it stood in, and the men who ran it, and most of the men who lost their fortunes inside it. He went there once a month to be seen, because power that is never witnessed begins to be doubted, and a doubted king is a dead one. He went with 8 men and his right hand, and that night with the woman no one believed in who he had brought along, precisely because he expected the evening to prove she was useless. She wore black. She had walked the floor twice before he ever arrived, and changed 2 of his men's positions without asking permission, and when he stepped onto the floor under the great chandelier, she was already 3 feet to his left and half a step back in the exact place a shooter would have to go through to reach him. He had noticed that too. He was noticing a great many things he did not want to notice. It happened at 1140. She felt it before she saw it, the wrongness of a man on the mezzanine who was watching the floor instead of the tables, the particular stillness of someone counting down rather than waiting. She had her hand on Dario's arm before she had finished the thought. Down, she said, and the chandelier exploded. This is the scene the cold open showed you. But you did not see then what it cost. She took him to the floor behind the cashier's marble, and the first round caught her shoulder, and the casino dissolved into screaming, and the long, bright ring of spilled gold. Dario's men were good. They were among the best paid killers in Europe, and not one of them had cleared his weapon by the time Mara Vance came up over the marble with a pistol she had taken from the holster of the man beside her, and put 2 rounds into the shooter on the mezzanine, and turned and dropped the second shooter coming through the service door, and turned again and dropped the third before Renzo himself, the fastest man in the organization, had finished raising his gun. 3 seconds. 3 men. One smooth, terrible motion, like watching water find the shape of a thing it had always known. Then it was over, and the casino was full of the sound of people who had survived, and Mara Vance was kneeling behind the marble with blood running down her arm and her boss's life still beating under her other hand. Dario Castellan sat on the floor of his own casino, his suit ruined with her blood, and looked at her. He had ordered men killed. He had killed men himself with his hands more than once. He had been shot at, bombed, poisoned, betrayed. He had stood at the top of a world built entirely on the principle that no one would ever protect him because no one ever could. And a woman his men had laughed at had just spent her own blood to prove him wrong. "You're hit," he said. His voice was not quite steady. He had not heard it sound like that in years and did not recognize it. "It's a graze," she said. She was already scanning the room again, already counting exits, already 3 moves ahead. "We need to move. There may be a second team." "You're hit," he said again, and this time it came out wrong, came out like it mattered, and they both heard it. For one suspended second, kneeling in the wreckage, with the chandelier glittering around them like fallen stars, Dario Castellan reached up without deciding to, without permission, his hand simply moving, and pressed his palm against the wound, on her shoulder to stop the blood. His own hand, on her, holding her together. A man who had never once in his life been allowed to keep someone safe. Mara looked down at his hand on her shoulder, and then up at his face, and something passed between them. That neither of them had words for something that had nothing to do with the job, and everything to do with the 2 loneliest people in 5. Monaco discovering in a room full of broken glass that the wall might have a door in it after all. Then Renzo was there hauling them up, barking orders, and the moment closed. But it had happened. And nothing after that night was ever the same. Chapter 3. The Shadow and the Flame. After the casino, everything changed and nothing was admitted. He could not stop watching her. He told himself it was professional that a man who has just learned the value of a protector keeps that protector close. He moved her room next to his. He had her at every meeting, every meal, every drive through the cliff roads in the armored car. He found reasons. He was a man who had built an empire out of reasons, and now he spent them like a fool on the single luxury of her presence. Mara understood exactly what was happening and used it. Proximity was what she had come for. Close to Dario meant close to the organization's secrets, close to the firm in Liechtenstein, close to the truth of who had signed her people's death. She told herself the warmth in her chest when he entered a room was tactical patience. She told herself the way her eyes found him across a crowd was situational awareness. She told herself a great many things, and her body believed none of them. The danger was that he was not what she had expected. She had come prepared to hate a monster. What she found was a man who carried his monstrousness like a sentence he was serving for a crime he hadn't chosen. She watched him refuse a deal that would have made him richer because it ran in girls. She watched him sit for an hour with the widow of a soldier killed in his service, not performing comfort, but simply being present because he understood being left behind. She watched him be ruthless and exact and occasionally terrible. And underneath all of it, she watched a man so starved for one honest human connection that he had forgotten such a thing was possible. It would have been so much easier if he had been a monster. "You don't sleep," he said to her one night. It was 3 in the morning. She was on the terrace where she could see the approaches, a coffee gone cold beside her, and the sea moving black under no moon. He had come out in his shirt sleeves, which she had never seen, and the sight of him without armor did something to her she resented. "Neither do you," she said. "I haven't slept properly in 15 years. He came to stand beside her at the rail, not too close exactly as far as a man stands from a fire he respects. There's a trick to it. You stop expecting to wake up safe. Then waking up at all is a pleasant surprise. "That's not a trick," she said. "That's a wound." He turned his head and looked at her, and in the dark his eyes were very steady. "You'd know." She said nothing. The sea breathed below them. "Whoever did it to you," he said quietly, "is the reason you don't flinch. A person isn't born unable to flinch. Someone teaches it to them, the way someone taught it to me." He looked back out at the water. "I won't ask. You'll tell me when you decide to lie to me less. But I want you to know I see it. The thing behind your eyes. I've worn it my whole life. I recognize my own." It was the most dangerous thing anyone had said to her in 9 years. Because it was true, and because she wanted to lean into it the way a freezing person wants to lean into a fire. And because the fire was the man she had come to bury. "Don't," she said. "Don't." "What?" "Don't see me." Her voice came out lower than she meant it to. "It won't end well for either of us." He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice had gone soft in a way that frightened her more than any threat. "It already hasn't," he said, and he reached out slowly, giving her every chance to stop him, and his hand came up toward her face, toward the place where a strand of hair had come loose against her cheek, and Mara Vance, who had not let a man touch her in 9 years, who had built a wall so high and so thick that she had nearly forgotten there was anything left inside it. To protect did not step back. His fingers were an inch from her skin. She could feel the warmth of him in the cold air, and then a door opened behind them and light spilled across the terrace, and Renzo's voice said, "Boss, we've got a problem in Nice." And the moment shattered like the chandelier had, and Dario's hand dropped to his side and the cold rushed back in to fill the space where the almost had been. Mara stepped back into her armor and her job and her revenge and told herself she was relieved. She was not relieved. The problem in Nice was another assassination attempt, this one disguised as a deal gone wrong, a meeting that was supposed to be a truce and turned in the space of a breath into a kill box. Mara saw it coming the way she always saw it coming, a half second before anyone else, and got Dario out through a kitchen and a loading dock and a stolen delivery van, while 4 men died behind them. But it was the pattern of it that bothered her, and bothered her for reasons that had nothing to do with romance. 3 attempts in 2 months before she arrived. 2 more since, and every single one of them she realized lying awake afterward, turning it over like a stone, had displayed the same impossible quality the attackers had known things they could not have known. The casino route. The Nice meeting's true location, which had been changed twice at the last minute. The composition of the security detail down to the man. Someone was feeding them. Someone inside. And the someone had access to everything. To schedules, to routes, to the changes made at the last possible minute in rooms. Only the most trusted men were permitted to enter. The list of people with that access was very short. She made it in her head, lying in the dark. Dario himself. 3 capos. And Renzo Vale, who handled everything that mattered. She did not want to put Renzo on the list. She liked Renzo. In 3 weeks, he had been the only person in that house to treat her like a colleague instead of a curiosity, the only one who had never once made her prove she belonged. He brought her coffee the way she took it. He had told her once in a quiet moment that his own sister had been a soldier, that he understood what it cost to be a woman who chose the gun, that he respected her more than any of the swaggering boys in the house ever would. She liked him, so she did the thing she had been trained to do, the thing that had kept her alive when liking people. Had not she put him on the list anyway? And she started to dig. That was the night her 2 missions, the revenge and the job, began without her knowing it to become the same mission. Chapter 4. The Truth in the Linings. She found it in the Liechtenstein files. It took her 11 days of careful theft, copies made at 3 in the morning, a phone cloned during a meeting, a safe she opened in 4 minutes, while Dario slept in the next room, and she hated herself for the trust she was betraying even as she did it. She had come to betray him. She had to keep remembering that. It was getting harder. What she found was not what she expected, and it broke something open in her chest. The wire transfer that had brought her unit's deaths. The transfer she had traced for 4 years. The single thread connecting her to the people who had killed everyone she loved. Had moved through a Castellane holding company. But it had not originated there. Dario's organization had been a conduit, a flag of convenience, a laundromat, used without the laundromat's knowledge. The order had not come from the top of the Castellane Empire. It had come from a private military contracting firm dissolved 8 years ago that had handled security consulting in exactly the region, in exactly the year where Mara's unit had died. And the man who had owned that firm, the man whose signature was on the consulting contract, the man who had sold a deniable American Special Operations unit to the fighters in the hills for a number with 6 zeros, had a name. She knew the name. She had been drinking his coffee for 3 weeks. Renzo Vale had not always been a Mafia consigliere. 15 years ago, before he had appeared in Dario's life as a loyal soldier, he had been a private contractor, and the operation that had wiped out Mara's unit had been his last job. Before he vanished, took a new name, and reinvented himself as the most trusted man in the Castellane Empire. She sat on the floor of her room with the file in her lap and the grainy photograph beside it. the photograph she had carried for 4 years, the only image of her betrayer, a man's shoulder and the edge of a tattoo. She had looked at it 10,000 times. She had never been able to make out the tattoo. She made it out now. She knew exactly where she had seen it. 3 days ago at the pool. Renzo had pulled off his shirt to swim, and there it had been on his shoulder, and she had thought nothing of it, because her body, her traitor body, had decided he was a friend. The man who had murdered her people was Dario Castellane's right hand, and the man who was trying to murder Dario, feeding his roots to assassins, orchestrating the attempts from inside, was the same man. She understood it all at once, the whole terrible architecture of it. Renzo did not want to protect Dario. Renzo wanted the empire. He had spent 15 years being the most loyal man in the house, precisely so that when Dario finally died in some tragedy, no one could blame him, for the organization would turn to its grieving, faithful right hand to lead it. The assassinations were not failures. They were a long, patient murder, dressed up as devotion. Mara Vance sat on the floor and held 2 truths in her 2 hands. In one hand, the man she had come to kill was innocent. Dario Castellane had not signed her people's deaths. He had been used the same way she had nearly been used. In the other hand, the man who had signed them, the man she had crossed an ocean and burned her life down to find, was standing 1 wall away. Beloved trusted, smiling, and slowly killing the only person who had ever made her want to put the wall down. She had come to Monaco to bury her past. Her past was about to bury the man she was falling in love with. She found Dario on the rooftop helipad at dawn. He went up there sometimes. She had learned to be the one place in his world where no one could reach him without being seen for 100 meters. The chopper sat dark and silent. The sky over the sea was going pink and gold, and the wind off the water moved his hair, and he stood at the very edge of the pad with the city falling away below him, a man on the roof of everything he owned and entirely alone. She came and stood beside him, and for a while neither of them spoke. She had decided on the stairs up not to tell him. Not yet. The soldier in her wanted proof he could not deny, wanted Renzo caught in the act, and not just on paper, wanted to be sure before she put a knife into the trust of 15 years. And underneath the soldier's reasons was a reason she did not examine, that the moment she told him she would have to tell him all of it. Why she had really come, what she had really been. She would have to take his trust, which he had given to so few people in his life, and show him it had been built on a lie. "You found something," he said. She turned. He was watching her with those steady, terrible eyes. "You've been different for 2 days," he said. "You're a closed door, Vance, but I've spent 3 weeks learning to read the grain of the wood. Something's changed. Tell me." "There's a leak," she said. It was true, and it was not the whole truth, and she watched his face to see what the half would cost her. "Every attempt has been informed from the inside. Someone with full access. Routes, schedules, last-minute changes. I'm close to knowing who." He went very still. The wind moved between them. "Who?" he said. "Not yet." She held his gaze. "If I'm wrong, I'll have destroyed a man's life for nothing. If I'm right and we move too soon, he disappears and tries again from somewhere I can't see. Give me 3 days. Trust me 3 more days." It was a terrible thing to ask. Trust me from a woman who was lying to him with every breath. She felt the wrongness of it like a stone in her throat. Dario Castellane looked at her for a long moment in the dawn light. And then he did the thing that finished her. The thing she would remember at the very end when everything was burning. "I trust you," he said simply. "I've trusted exactly 2 people in my life. One of them taught me how. The other one is you." He looked back out at the sea. "I don't know what you're hiding. I've known from the first night that you came into my house carrying something. I decided weeks ago that I didn't care. Whatever you are, whatever you came here to do, you've put your body between me and death twice now, and no one in 41 years has ever done that. So whatever you're hiding, hide it. I'll wait. I find I'm not in any hurry for you to leave." She almost told him then. The words rose in her throat. "I came here to kill you, and the man who deserves to die loves you like a son, and I think I'm falling in." She didn't say it. She would spend the rest of her life wondering whether everything would have been different if she had. Instead, the wind came up off the sea, and Dario reached out and tucked the loose strand of hair behind her ear, finishing at last the motion the terrace had interrupted. His fingers brushed her jaw. She let them. The sun broke over the water and turned the whole world gold, and for one moment on the roof of the city with the most dangerous man in Monaco, touching her face like she was something that could break Mara Vance. Let herself be a person, instead of a weapon. It lasted 3 seconds. Then she stepped back because she had to, because she had work to do, because the man who had killed her unit was downstairs making coffee, and because she had just realized how she was going to catch him. Chapter 5. The Bait. She brought the plan to Dario alone in the war room beneath the villa with the door locked and the cameras off. "You want to do what he said. Stage your own assassination," she said. "A real one in every way that matters, except that I'll be controlling it from the inside. The leak feeds his information through the security apparatus. So we create information. We let it slip through the exact channels I've identified that you'll be exposed vulnerable at a specific place and time with reduced security. A gift, an opening, too good to ignore." She laid it out flat and clean, the way she had laid out 100 operations to 100 men who had doubted her. He'll have to act on it himself, or send someone he controls. Either way, when the trap closes, I'll have him not on paper, but in the act. No deniability, no escape. Dario JB, asking me to stand in the open and let a man try to kill me. "I'm asking you to let me decide how a man tries to kill you," she said. "There's a difference. The attempts are coming, whether we like it or not. This is the only version where we choose the ground. And if it goes wrong, then I'll be standing between you and the bullet," she said. "Same as I have been. Same as I will be until this is over." He stared at her across the table, and she watched the war in him, the man who had survived 41 years by never, ever surrendering control, being asked to surrender all of it, to put his life entirely in the hands of one woman and trust her to give it back. "There's something you're not telling me about this," he said slowly, "about why this is so personal for you. I can see it. You light up when you talk about catching him. That's not professional, that's a hunt." "Yes," she said. She would not lie to him about this one thing, even if she could not give him all of it. "It's a hunt. For him, for what he did," she said. "Before he was yours. Before any of this. He took something from me a long time ago that I've spent 9 years trying to get back. And I can't get it back. It's gone, it's dead, it's never coming home. But I can make sure he answers for it. That's all I have left to want." Her voice did not shake. She would not let it shake. "You're not the only one in this room who lost the ability to flinch, Dario. Someone taught it to me too. He's downstairs right now making your coffee." The room went absolutely silent. Dario Castellane looked at her with a dawning, terrible understanding, and she watched him put the pieces together. The leak, the access, the man with the keys to everything. And she watched the moment 15 years of trust started to crack. "Down the middle, Renzo," he said. It was not a question. It came out of him like something torn loose. "Don't react," she said quickly, stepping around the table to him, gripping his arm. "Don't change a single thing. Not your face, not your schedule, not one word you say to him. He's been the most loyal man in your house for 15 years, and he has not made one mistake. If he sees it in your eyes, he vanishes, and he'll come for you from the dark for the rest of your life. The only way to end it is to let him think he's won, to give him the opening, to let him reach for the kill and close my hand around his wrist the moment he does." Dario looked down at her hand on his arm. Then he looked at her face very close now, the two of them alone in the buried room, with a betrayal between them that was almost as old as he was. "He held me when my father died," Dario said quietly. "He's the second person, the one who taught me to trust." A muscle moved in his jaw. "You're telling me the two people I've trusted in my life are a man who's been killing me for 2 months and a woman who came into my house under a false flag for reasons she still won't fully name?" "Yes," Mara said. "There was no point in softening it. That's exactly what I'm telling you." And Dario Castellane, who had every reason to throw her out of his house and his life and his city, laughed. Once. Low and dark, and entirely without joy. "Then God help me," he said, "because I'd still rather have you." He covered her hand with his. "Set the trap. I'll be the bait. Tell me where to stand, and I'll stand there." "Dario, I trust you," he said. "Do you understand what that is for me? It's the only thing I have that's mine. It's the only thing no one's ever managed to take. I'm giving it to you with my eyes open. Don't waste it." The storm came in off the sea that night, the way storms do in Monaco at the turn of the season fast, and enormous lightning walking across the water, rain coming down in sheets that turned the city to a smear of gold. Mara stood at the great window of the villa, watching it, working through the operation in her mind. For the 100th time, every variable, every fallback, every place it could go wrong. She did not hear him come up behind her. That should have been impossible. She always heard everyone, but she did not hear Dario until he was beside her, and she understood that some part of her had stopped guarding against him a long time ago. "You'll be exposed too," he said. "In this plan of yours, there's a moment where you have to let him commit, which means there's a moment where neither of us is protected." I read it 3 times. "You buried it, but it's there." "It's a small window," she said. "It's a window where you could die," he said, "so that I can live. And you built it on purpose. You wrote your own throat into the plan and you didn't tell me." His voice was very low under the sound of the rain. "I won't let you do that. It's not your decision." "No," he agreed. "But it's my fear." He turned her gently with one hand on her shoulder, the shoulder she had taken the bullet in, the shoulder he had held together with his own hand on a casino floor. "I have spent my whole life unable to be afraid of anything. I told you that. I thought it was strength. I'm learning 3 weeks too late that it was just that I had nothing left. I couldn't stand to lose." His hand came up to her face. The lightning lit the room white and then dropped it back into gold. "And now I do. And I'm terrified. So no, you don't get to put yourself in front of the bullet anymore and call it the job. Not now that I know what it would cost me." "Dario," she said, and her voice did the thing she had sworn it would not do. It shook. "I'm not who you think I am. If you knew everything, then tell me everything," he said. "After, when he's caught, when it's over, and we're both still breathing. Tell me every terrible thing you came here to do, and I'll tell you I don't care because I already know it now. I've known for days. You didn't come here to protect me. You came here for something dark, and you found me in the way of it." His thumb moved across her cheek, and somewhere in the last 3 weeks, the thing in the way of your revenge became the thing you can't stand to lose either. "I can see it. It's the same thing that's happening to me. I've watched it happen to me in a mirror every morning for 2 weeks, and I've called it a dozen names, and none of them were the true one." "Don't say the true one," she whispered. "Please, not yet. If you say it, I'll have something to lose. I can't afford to have something to lose. Not for 3 more days." He looked at her for a long, long moment, the rain hammering the glass, the whole drowned gold city spread out below them. "All right," he said. "Not yet." And he did not kiss her, though they both stood at the edge of it like 2 people at the edge of a cliff. He simply lowered his forehead to hers and stayed there, breathing 2 soldiers in the eye of a storm, allowing themselves 3 seconds of the thing neither of them could afford. 3 seconds. Then they stepped back and went to war. Chapter 6. The Man Who Made the Coffee. The trap was set for the sapphire. There was a poetry to it that Mara appreciated in the cold professional part of her mind, ending it where it had nearly begun, on the same marble where she had taken her first bullet for him. The information was leaked through the channels she had mapped, that Dario would be at the casino for a private high-stakes table, that his security would be skeleton, that there would be a 40-minute window where the great man would be reachable. It was an opening no patient assassin could resist. She did not tell Renzo any of the real plan. She told him a fiction that she suspected one of the capos, that she needed his help running a quiet operation to flush the traitor, that she trusted him above everyone. She watched his kind eyes warm with the responsibility of it. She watched the man who had murdered her unit promise to keep her safe. She had never wanted to kill anyone the way she wanted to kill him in that moment. She smiled and thanked him and felt nothing on her face at all. The night came. The casino glittered. The replacement chandelier threw its 1,000 points of light over a floor that had been cleared without anyone seeming to clear it of every civilian Mara could move. Dario sat at the high table playing cards with men who did not exist in a tailored suit, exposed the bait on the hook, and somewhere in the building his death was coming for him on schedule. It came at 1140. She had counted on the symmetry. Renzo was a creature of patterns, and patterns were how you killed them. But it did not come the way she had planned. She had planned for an outside team, hired guns sent in by Renzo from a safe distance, deniable the way every attempt had been. She had planned to take them at the door and then turn to Renzo and watch his face as he understood that she had taken his men and his plan and his 15 years of patience and ground them under her heel. That was not what Renzo had planned, because Renzo Vele had spent 15 years being underestimated too, and he had not survived selling out a special operations unit and reinventing himself in the most dangerous organization in Europe by being predictable. He had felt the trap. He did not know its shape, but he had felt it the way Mara felt things, the way 2 predators of the same species always feel each other. And so he had not sent a team. He came himself. He walked onto the casino floor at 1140, exactly in his beautiful suit with his warm, kind eyes, and he came to stand beside Dario at the high table, the way he had stood beside him for 15 years. His most loyal man, his right hand, and he put a gun to the back of Dario Castellane's skull with the casual ease of a man straightening his employer's collar. "Don't," Renzo said pleasantly to the room, to Mara, to everyone. "Everyone stay exactly where you are, including you, Miss Vance, especially you." The casino froze. Mara stood 12 feet away with no clean shot, her own weapon at her side, and looked at the man she had crossed an ocean to find holding a gun to the head of the man. She had crossed a wall inside herself to love, and understood that she had walked into her enemy's trap while believing she was building her own. "You knew," she said. "I knew there was a trap," Renzo said. "I didn't know it was yours. I thought our brilliant boss had finally grown a spine." He smiled at her, and it was the same warm smile, the smile that had brought her coffee, and now she could see all the way to the bottom of it, and there was nothing there. "I have to say you're better than I expected. I almost missed you for what you were. A pro, a real one. I respect that. I haven't met a real one since he tilted his head well. Since a long time ago. Some valley. Some men who trusted the wrong person about an extraction route." His eyes found hers and held them. "You have that look. The valley look. I gave a lot of people that look in my consulting days." The floor dropped out of the world. He knew. He had known perhaps from the moment she arrived, recognized her the way she should have recognized him. Two survivors of the same atrocity from opposite sides of the gun. "Say it," Mara said. Her voice was perfectly level. It was the most level it had ever been. "Say what you did. Say it out loud in front of him." Renzo glanced down at Dario, who had gone absolutely still under the gun, who was looking up at his right hand of 15 years, with an expression that was breaking apart in real time. "I sold a unit," Renzo said almost gently. 11 soldiers a long time ago in a war nobody admits happened. I gave their position to the other side for a number that let me disappear and become. He spread his free hand at the gold and the glass and the empire around them. All of this. The most trusted man in the most powerful organization in Europe. One betrayal, 15 years of patience, and soon one more body, and it all becomes mine. He looked at Mara with something almost like tenderness. "You were one of those 11, weren't you?" "No, you were the 12th. The one who walked out. I always wondered if there'd been a 12th. There were 11 who didn't," Mara said. "And you came all this way," Renzo said, "for me." He sounded genuinely moved, and found him instead, and fell for him instead. "I watched it happen. It was almost beautiful." The avenging angel, defanged by the very devil she came to Dario, moved. He had been still for a reason. He had been still because Mara had taught him in 3 weeks. The one thing his whole life of solitary strength had never let him learn: how to wait, how to trust that someone else would choose the moment, how to be the bait and not the plodder. And he had been watching her eyes, and he saw the half second in them where she committed, and he moved exactly when she needed him to, and not one instant before. He drove his elbow back into Renzo's gun hand and threw himself sideways off the chair, and the gun went off, and the round went wide, splintering the high table, and in the same breath, Mara was already crossing the 12 feet of marble, with her weapon coming up. But Renzo was fast. 15 years fast. Valley fast. He recovered before she reached him, and he did the one thing she had not been able to fully plan. For the thing that had lived in the buried part of the operation, she hadn't shown Dario the small, terrible window where someone had to be exposed. He turned the gun on Dario again, on the man on the floor, the man she loved, the helpless target. And Mara Vance did the only thing she had ever known how to do. She put herself in front of it. She did not have time to shoot him first. There was time to do one thing, and she chose the way she had chosen on the casino floor 3 weeks before, the way she had been choosing her whole life. She chose to be the wall. She threw her body across Dario's, and the gun went off. And the round that had been meant for the most powerful man in Monaco went instead into the woman his entire organization had laughed at. She felt it the way she always felt it. The heat before the pain, the body lying to itself one last clean time. But she was a soldier, and she was the best one Renzo Vale had ever underestimated. And even as she took the round, she brought her own weapon up against the marble and put 2 bullets into the man who had murdered her unit's center mass, exactly where 9 years of grief had been aiming the whole time. Renzo Vale looked surprised. They always did. He looked down at his chest and then up at her, and his warm, kind eyes were warm and kind, even at the very end, which was the most monstrous thing about him. And he opened his mouth to say something clever. He didn't get to. He folded down onto the marble of the casino he had helped his master build, and the gun fell from his hand and skittered away across the floor, and it was over. 15 years of patience and 9 years of grief ended in the same 3 seconds on the same gold floor between 2 survivors of the same valley. And Mara Vance fell. She did not feel herself hit the marble. She felt arms catch her. Dario Castellane came up off the floor and caught her before she landed, and went down to his knees with her against his chest and pressed his hand to the wound the way he had the first time, his own hand holding her together, except that, this time, it was not a graze, and his hand could not hold back. What was happening? No, he said. No, Mara, look at me. His voice was not steady at all now. There was nothing of the most dangerous man in Monaco left in it. There was only a man who had spent 41 years unable to be afraid, learning all of it at once. You don't get to do this. You hear me, you put yourself in front of the bullet and you said it was the job, but it was never the job, it was this, it was you choosing me, and you don't get to choose me and then leave. That's not how it works. I won't let it work that way. It worked, she said. Her voice was very far away even to her. Blood was on his collar again, white going red the way it had the first night. He's dead. You're alive. The job. Forget the job. He gathered her up against him, both arms, his blood-soaked sleeve and her blood-soaked shoulder, the most feared man in the city on his knees, in the ruin of his own casino holding a dying woman, while gold chips scattered around, them like fallen coins. His men stood frozen in a ring around them. The whole organization, all the men who had laughed at her, watching their boss kneel in the blood of the woman they had given 9 days to live. You came here to kill me, he said into her hair, fierce and broken. I know you did. You came here for revenge and you found me in the way, and I don't care. Do you understand? I have never cared about anything the way I don't care about that. Stay. You hear me? Whatever you came here to do, you can do it tomorrow. Just stay tonight. Stay. I've never, Mara said, and the words were hard to find and harder to let out the wall. Coming down at last, the loneliest wall ever built, finally finding its door. I've never let myself need anyone. Since the valley, I made it so I'd never have to. It was safer. It was, I know, he said. I built the same wall. I built mine first. Don't make me need you, she said. It's the last thing I have left. The not needing. Too late, Dario Castellane said. And there were tears on the face of a man who had not wept since his father's funeral, since the last time Renzo Vale had held him and lied to him about everything. It's already too late. For both of us. I needed you the night you bled on my floor and called me a child. So you have to stay. You have to stay, because I just learned how to need someone, and I refuse. I refuse to learn how to lose them in the same week. The sirens were coming. His men were finally moving the doctor. He kept on retainer running across the marble, the machinery of a billion-dollar empire, mobilizing to save one woman's life, because the man who ran it had commanded it with his eyes. And Mara Vance, in the last moment before the dark took her, looked up at the face of the man she had come to destroy, and did the bravest thing she had done in 9 years. Braver than the valley, braver than the bullet. She let herself need him. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. And then the dark took her, and she did not know going under whether it would give her back. Chapter 7. The Man Who Learned to Kneel. She woke to the sound of the sea. For a long while she did not open her eyes. She catalogued the way she always had the soft beep of a monitor, the smell of antiseptic over something cleaner sea air, the particular quality of light against her eyelids that meant late afternoon. A hospital. A good one. A private one, because no public hospital had windows that let in the sound of the Mediterranean. And a hand, holding hers. She knew the hand before she opened her eyes. She had felt it twice on the wound in her shoulder, holding her together. Now, it was simply holding her, and it had clearly been holding her for a long time, because when she finally moved her fingers, the response was instant, desperate, a man surfacing from somewhere deep. She opened her eyes. Dario Castellane was kneeling beside her hospital bed. He looked like he had been kneeling there for days. His suit was gone. He was in shirt sleeves the way she had seen him only once on the terrace the night he almost touched her face. There was grey in his stubble that had not been there 3 weeks ago. His eyes were rimmed red and absolutely awake, the eyes of a man who had refused to sleep until he had something to sleep beside. You stayed, he said. His voice cracked on it. I said I would, she said. Her throat was raw. I don't break my word. It's the only thing I've got left that's mine. He laughed that low, broken laugh, but with joy in it this time, real joy, the first she had ever heard from him. He pressed her hand to his mouth, to his forehead, held it there like a man holding the only warm thing in a cold world. 3 days, he said. You've been gone 3 days, the doctor said. He stopped. It doesn't matter what the doctor said. You're here. The rest is just weather. She let herself look at him. She let herself for the first time simply look at him without calculating exits and angles and the half-second before the bullet. She looked at the man she had crossed an ocean to murder, kneeling beside her bed because he could not bear to be anywhere else. And she understood that the wall she had spent 9 years building had come all the way down on a casino floor, and that she was not, as she had always feared, defenseless. Without it, she was just for the first time since the valley not alone. Renzo, she said, dead. Something moved across his face. Grief, she realized, real grief. Because you could grieve a man and be glad he was dead at the same time, because the human heart was not built for clean accounting. He was the second person who taught me to trust. He held me at my father's funeral, and he'd been killing me by inches for 2 months and selling soldiers to their graves for 15 years before that. Dario's jaw tightened. I keep thinking I should feel like a fool for not seeing it, for trusting him. You're not a fool, Mara said. He was the best I ever saw. He fooled an entire organization for 15 years. He fooled me, and I came here specifically to find him. Don't carry that. Trusting people isn't the failure. It's the only thing that makes any of this worth surviving. That's a strange thing to hear from a woman who built a wall to make sure she never needed anyone. I'm retired, she said, from wall building. As of 3 days ago, he looked at her for a long moment, and then he asked the question she had been waiting for. The question she owed him, the one she had begged him on a stormy night, not to ask until it was over. Tell me everything, he said. You promised. After, when we were both still breathing. We're both still breathing. So tell me, why you really came, what you really are, all of it. And she did. She told him about the valley with no name and the 11 people who had trusted her to lead them home, and the 10 who died in the hills and the 11th who died in a field hospital holding her hand and asking her not to leave. She told him about the 4 years and the 6 shell companies and the single grainy photograph of a shoulder and a tattoo. She told him she had come to Monaco believing he had signed the order and that she had been prepared to die putting a knife in his heart, and that she had walked into his house intending to take everything from him. She told him the truth, all of it, the terrible whole of it, and she watched his face the entire time. And his face did not change because he had already known the shape of it and had decided weeks ago that he did not care. So that's what I am, she finished. I'm the woman who came to your house to kill you. That's the secret. That's been the secret the whole time. Dario Castellane was quiet for a moment. Outside, the sea moved against the rocks, endless and silver. No, he said finally. That's what you came here to be. It's not what you are. He lifted her hand again, turned it over, pressed his lips to her palm to the calluses a lifetime of weapons had left there. What you are is the only person who ever chose to stand between me and death when there was nothing in it for you. Twice. The second time knowing it might kill you. You came here to take everything from me, and instead you gave me the only 2 things I never had in my life. He looked up at her. Someone who would die for me. And someone I would rather die than lose. I don't know what you call that where you come from. Where I come from, we don't have a word big enough. We just have the thing itself. Dario, you told me on the terrace not to say the true name of it, he said. You said if I said it, you'd have something to lose, and you couldn't afford that. Well, he smiled, and it was not the cold, still smile of the most dangerous man in Monaco. It was something new, something she had built in him without meaning to 3 weeks and 2 bullets ago. It's over now. The hunt's done. The traitor's dead. You don't have to be a weapon anymore. So I'm going to say it. And you're going to let yourself have something to lose because you've earned the right to be afraid of losing things like the rest of us. He leaned in close the way he had on the terrace, the way he had not allowed himself on the stormy night. And this time nothing interrupted them. No door, no Renzo, no war, no wall. Just the sound of the sea and a man who had learned to kneel, and a woman who had learned to stay. I love you, Dario Castellane said. The most dangerous man in Monaco who had never once said those words to a living soul said them to the woman his men had laughed at in a hospital room above the sea. I have loved you since you bled on my floor and called me a child, and you don't have to say it back. You came here to bury your dead, and I will give you years to learn how to live instead. We have time now. For the first time in either of our lives, we have time. Just stay, and let me love you, and let yourself be loved. And that's enough. That's everything. Mara Vance looked at him. 9 years she had spent unable to flinch. 9 years she had spent so the valley could never happen to her again, so that she would never again hand her heart to people and watch them die in the hills. She had built the wall so high and so thick that she had nearly forgotten there was anything left alive behind it. But there was. There always had been. It had just been waiting all this time for someone strong enough to be worth the risk of needing. She reached up with her free hand. The wound pulled. She didn't care. And she put her palm against the face of the man she had come to kill. And she finished at last, the motion that storms and doors and 15 years of betrayal had been interrupting since the night they met. She drew him down, and she kissed him, and the wall came down for good. Okay, she whispered against his mouth when she could speak. The same word, the bravest word she knew. I'll stay. Outside, the sun was going down over the Mediterranean, turning the whole impossible city to gold. The yacht slept in the harbor. The casino had been cleaned and reopened, the marble scrubbed of blood, the new chandelier throwing its 1,000 points of light over men who would never again laugh at a woman in a charcoal suit. The empire went on the way empires do. But in a private room above the Silver Sea, the most feared man in Monaco sat at the bedside of a soldier who had crossed an ocean to destroy him, and held her hand while she slept and did not let go. Not that night, and not the long string of nights that followed, when a woman who had not slept safe in 9 years learned slowly in the dark beside a dangerous man that it was possible to close your eyes and trust the world to still be there in the morning. They had both built walls. They had both been right to. And then they had found in the unlikeliest house in the most dangerous city in the world, the one person each of them would let inside. He had spent his life protecting everyone and being protected by no one. She had spent hers needing no one so that no one could ever leave. In the end, the strongest woman anyone had ever underestimated taught the most dangerous man in Monaco how to let someone shield him, and the loneliest man on the Mediterranean taught the soldier who couldn't flinch that there was after all something left in the world worth being afraid to lose. The valley was finally behind her, and for the first time since she had carried the 11th man 19 kilometers and felt his hand go cold, Mara Vance was not walking anymore. She was home. End. And that's where we leave them. A soldier who finally let herself stay, and a dangerous man who finally learned how to kneel. If this story got under your skin, if your heart climbed into your throat when she threw herself in front of that bullet, or when Renzo set his gun against the back of Dario's head, then do me a favor right now, before you go. Hit that like button. It genuinely helps these stories reach more people who love them as much as you do. Share this with the one friend you know is addicted to Mafia romance just like you are. And subscribe with the bell on, because there's another dangerous love story coming very soon, and you do not want to miss it. But here's the part I care about most. Drop a comment and tell me, did you suspect Renzo before the casino? Or did the betrayal hit you the way it hit her? And which couple do you want next? Tell me the pairing and I'll build the whole story around your idea. A mafia boss times ER nurse who saves the life of the man half the city wants dead. A mafia boss times ballerina with a secret child and a wedding surrounded by black SUVs. A mafia boss times prosecutor's daughter caught between the family that raised her and the man sworn to destroy them. Or give me your own. Drop it in the comments. The story with the most votes becomes the next video on this channel. Thank you for spending tonight with me in the dark. Get some rest, and I'll see you in the next one.